Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Milk Eggs.
And a whole lot of tea.
My name's Brandon.
And I'm Allegra.
And we are here, Allegra, with a very special guest.
A very TikTok radical.
We got a radical in this house.
Wow.
We got a radical somebody. Well, everybody, let's give a huge warm welcome to our good friend, Allie Phillips.
Hi.
Hi, how are you guys?
Of course. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for letting a radical come into your space.
I mean,
And in my home, too. I let a radical come in my home.
in your home, a good radical.
But you know what? It's because I support this radical. That's why.
Absolutely.
And I did. We actually voted for you and everything. We were pushing for you hard.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Appreciate it.
And even last year, and thank you too for, randomly last year, we just reached out to you. Mm-hmm. You were able to go along with our campaign kind of fun thing that we did. And now it's come to having you on the podcast.
On the podcast.
No, it's exciting.
It is. Okay. So we got some questions we want to get through with you today.
Mm-hmm.
Some fun ones. And most times we like to start out with getting to know the person that is here. So we like to give your elevator speech. However, today we're doing it a little different.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We're sprinkling your elevator speech pitch throughout.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But our first question that I got for you
Uh-oh.
is, as we dive into your political journey today, you've likely met a wide variety of people, from constituents to other political figures, the peons to the people that won the damn state, pretty much. So let's throw a little bit of curveball here.
Okay.
Imagine this scenario. If you had to choose, would you rather have dinner with Donald J. Trump? Donald J. See, I think it was Donald Duck Trump at Mar-a-Lago, or with an election denier? And most importantly, why?
Oh, boy. I don't think my pregnancy nausea could handle a meeting in the same room with Donald Trump. So I would go with the election denier, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because I'm a very persuasive person.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could take time to actually sit down and speak to them, potentially, they may not be an election denier by the end.
Oh.
I like
That's
that.
how confident I am in my ability to bring facts and common sense to a conversation without belittling and berating and stuff. Yeah.
Maybe because we're not watching Fox News every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, there's no way in hell.
So you're not going to go to Mar-a-Lago.
Catch me at Mar-a-Lago.
You ain't going to be seeing Melania. Nobody up in there. No.
I don't blame you, girl. Neither would I. Neither would I. All right. So, Allie Phillips, as you know, politics often presents us with unexpected choices and challenges. So, running a campaign is no easy feat. And you had a hard campaign last summer that you were running, and it was amazing. And you used social media. So, let's talk about the social media hustle. To the financial juggles, there's a lot behind the scenes that we don't know of, which is great. Sometimes we're not privy to that. But what's been the biggest shock about the whole process, something that no one really warned you about when you first stepped into this arena of politics?
That's a good question.
Starting off, everything was new for me. This was my first time running for office. I'd never been in the political sphere before. So really almost everything was kind of a shock. But I'll tell you, the hardest thing that I had to face was the financial aspect of being a candidate, because you have to devote a lot of your time to going out and door knocking, going to events, meeting with constituents, all of these things that take away from your daily life. And a lot of these events happen in the middle of the workday. So having a regular 9-to-5 job isn't really doable. So at the time when I started my campaign, I had an in-home daycare. And just to kind of pivot real quick off to the side, my campaign wasn't a normal campaign. What I did and what I went through is not a typical state house race. You don't typically travel to different states to speak as a state house candidate. You don't typically have international news coverage as a state house candidate. So it was different. But I had a lot more on my plate than the other candidates in the state because of my story, because it went viral. But I'll tell you, it was hard because, and if you ask any candidate this, they'll tell you this. running for office is probably the most isolating thing you could ever go through.
Oh, wow.
You have a team of people around you. You have all the people that support you, that are going to help you, that are going to vote for you, and that's fantastic. But nobody truly understands what it's like to be a candidate unless you've been a candidate, and not a lot of people have. And so it's a different kind of feeling to express to somebody like, this is really draining me. This is really difficult. And they're like, well, yeah, but like you wanted to run for office. I'm like, right. But that doesn't take away the fact that this is really difficult.
Right.
My husband and I, we working class family, like most people, we, get through our paychecks, pay our bills, and have a little bit left over to maybe, go out to eat. And there was a point in time where I was having to close down my in-home daycare so much that I was losing income. And I had to start looking for another job, something that could work with being a candidate. And fortunately, I found a job with a nonprofit organization called Forward Tennessee. If you don't follow them, they do great work along with many other organizations here in Tennessee. But so I got a job with them doing comms. But before I did that, we got so far behind financially. My mom had to help us pay our bills, our mortgage. My campaign manager came out of her own pocket and bought groceries for us multiple times because we didn't have food in the house. And I have a daughter at home. Yeah. So like, it was just, and it's embarrassing because I'm supposed to be like this perfect, like not perfect, but people see me and they're like, oh, she's such a fighter, she's so strong. And like I'm at home crying every day because I don't have milk in my fridge, there's no bread, there's nothing in my house. Like my kid needs to eat and I can't feed her. And that was a really hard reality to navigate through, and I tried to share as much of it as I could publicly, because one of the things about my campaign that I will always be proud of is I remained authentic to myself.
Absolutely.
Didn't change who I was, didn't change the narrative, didn't try to like persuade people to believe I was a different kind of person. I struggled. I was depressed. I was pissed a lot of the time. It was just, this is the reality of running for office, not only as a woman, but as a mother, a working class person. So somebody that the system is literally designed to keep out. And so I think the biggest shock for me was the amount of, or lack thereof, resources for candidates like myself.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't a place for you to just go and like, oh, here's
some fun.
Yeah, or here's like how you get started almost type thing. It was more of just like, I want to run for office. I'm just going to Google stuff and how to do it.
Start from
not coming from our state party. I would say like the state Democratic Party. There did come resources later on, but it took me having to like do candidate training with these like national organizations like
candidate training.
Yes.
Wow, how long is that for?
It depends on the organization. So Emerge, their candidate training, I think is like 4 or 5 months long. Wow. Yeah.
I didn't even think that was a thing.
It's a
like
thing.
Your day job, and then you go to candidate training?
And then there's candidate training.
Being a mother.
And a mother.
A wife.
Yeah, and it costs money.
It costs money for you to attend candidate training?
Yes. Dang. But now they do let you use campaign funds. And fortunately enough for me, I had donations coming in from all 50 states, so I was able to afford it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But if I didn't have that money, like I couldn't afford to put $5 of my own money in my campaign. I wouldn't have been able to do it. Candidate training, I think the Emerge program, I think it was like $1,000 to do the candidate training.
And everyone has to go through that?
They don't have to go through it. You could choose to do that.
I'm sure Donald Trump didn't go through that.
Oh, no. No, he just has money. But that's an option. If you want to go through candidate training, it teaches you how to, write your stump speech, teaches you or shows you like kind of like the perfect team. You need a campaign manager, you need media, you need mailer people, you need, just all these different, you need field directors, you need comms directors, like you need all of this stuff. And it teaches you about fundraising, like how to make the hard ask. Like, don't be like, hey, if you have an extra, $20 that you could donate, that would be fantastic. Just, we need $20 today. Yeah. So trying to get through that like uncomfortable conversation, how to do call time, which is where you ask for money, how to do door knocking, how to approach people who may be, independent swing voters, like how to change certain terms when you talk to different kinds of voters. Because whereas I could talk to you guys and say, I had to leave the state to get an abortion, and you guys wouldn't like flinch at that word, a Republican voter might, and they might shut down and not listen to me or anything I have to say after that because they're like, oh, abortion, you went and killed your baby.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of like switch the narrative. So when I talked to kind of pro-life voters, I was like, I had to leave the state because my baby was dying and I couldn't get health care in Tennessee. And so then it's just like, oh, wait, your baby was dying. I didn't say the word abortion.
Because the word abortion is kind of like...
It's a trigger word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... but so they teach you things, and it's very valuable. It is very valuable. I went through Emerge's training. I went through Run for Something, their training, and I went through Vote, Run, Lead, their training. So I went through three different trainings.
Come on now with it. You was trained up for it. You was ready to conquer this.
I wanted to be as prepared as I could because I was coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
But so the biggest shock for me, I guess, would be the lack of resources that come from the actual party itself. Because they don't, now they are like, they just elected a new chair. So hopefully things will shift and be a little better. But, for a while last year, they would say that they were going to help. They're going to give money towards like the top 5 campaigns. And we didn't get their financial help until like a month before the election.
Wow.
And I was considered the second most winnable race in the state. And so then you have these other candidates who are in more rural districts who know that they don't really have much of a chance at winning their seat this year. But kind of want to start getting data and building up, completely ignored. Party doesn't even look at them. We're not going to give you a dime. You're not worth our time.
Wow.
But then you guys want people to run for office. And then you don't offer them any help. You don't offer the resources. You don't offer the financial support. Like, this is why Tennessee is such a red state, because Democrats, we don't have the support.
Yeah.
So that was, I probably would say, the biggest shock for me was just that lack of support from your own party.
From your own party.
From your own party.
But knowing that they don't have the resources either they might, but not.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is they bragged a lot about how they raised like $1 million something.
Where is that?
At the 3-star dinner, and you have all these candidates that are like
3-star dinner.
That's the TNDP's 3-star dinner they have every year. But they're like, the chair was bragging about how they, they're sitting on like $1 million right now that they've raised this year, and you have these candidates that are like, I have $10 in my campaign account.
Wow.
I can't even buy a T-shirt. I can't buy a sign. I can't hire a canvasser. Like,
damn, that is some challenges.
Oh, it was frustrating, and
yeah,
some of us spoke out about it publicly. I think there's an article in the Tennessean about it from I think like 3 or 4 of us that were very frustrated. And me being with one of the top tier ones, I spoke out about it because I was like, you guys praised my race, and you're like, oh, we got to focus and hone in on this, but you're not doing anything. But also in the meantime, these other candidates are working just as hard as I am, and you're not even batting an eye at them. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
Who do I got to go talk to right now?
Well, like I said, they just elected a new chair. So, and her name is Rachel Campbell. She's out of Chattanooga. She's a Swiftie. By the way.
Okay.
Well, you could be a Swiftie, but you could be, girl, you better be good, Rachel. We looking at you, boo.
But Rachel, she was a good resource for me. And I'm confident that she's going to do really well. She's kind of picking up a mess, so it might take a minute. And so I don't want people to like immediately jump on her and be like, "Why haven't you fixed it?" I'm like, "Well, it took you guys a while to pick it up." So
yeah,
it's a while for you to clean it up.
She's got to clean it up. Which, unfortunate, of course, the woman always has to come in and clean shit up.
And should have done it from the beginning. Because clearly these white men out there, I'm not saying me because I'm one of the other ones that are not, they get on my nerves with that shit. Especially the old white crusties. Like, just
go. They're everywhere.
Just croak already. Please.
Roaches.
Oh, I'm like really speaking about death a lot today. And so behind the scenes, we were speaking about death. But anyways, okay. Okay, so some struggles that we've seen. Also, thank you so much for that because I didn't, as somebody who doesn't know candidacy or like how to run, or it's so interesting to see it because you're for the people, you want to be for the people, but it's like it is like you just said, or like you said earlier, the system is made to keep people like yourself out, and it's horrible, because it's you want to do good, and that's all you want to bring to the table.
You just want to help people. If you don't have the money and the proper organs,
Yeah.
you know, so and skin tone. I mean, I already got the white, but I'm not a man and I'm not wealthy, so it's really sad that that's where our country has gone. That's where our state has put itself.
And people don't see; they just see if you are a man, if you have money, if you're smarter than the rest, which is not true.
It's not true.
Folks over here looking like idiots, Elon Musk.
And
they want to be just like him.
Administration.
Yeah, they want to be just like him. Like
money doesn't buy brain.
It's not stupidity.
Buy a Tesla.
Yeah.
But hopefully you can get 200 miles on that Tesla. Okay. Okay. Transitioning to, we're still kind of in social media with politics and all that good stuff. But navigating some ups and downs of social media, we know in politics has been a huge game changer, especially in today's age. Social media is a huge push on that. Let's talk about another modern challenge, one that's all over all of our feeds. So, TikTok. Do you love it or love it?
Oh, I love TikTok.
Love it. She's our TikTok Allie. Okay.
Yeah, TikTok Allie.
Do you see it as a game changer in how politicians connect with the public, or is it just another platform you have to manage? And looking ahead, what's your next big move as a creator in the TikTok or social media space?
So it absolutely is a game changer for politicians, 100%. We're in a time now where you can see an update about a bill, a harmful bill, a positive bill, and a 1 minute format from your representative online. If you, I don't know if you guys follow like AOC, but she'll go live.
Yeah.
She'll go live on Instagram.
Yeah.
When has that ever happened in our history? It's not a thing. It's new. But that's how you're going to reach our generation. That's how you're going to reach the younger generations. Even, our parents are online. You even have boomers that are online now. But that's where majority, I'm going to speak for all millennials right now, even though it probably isn't true, but that's where majority of our generation gets our news. Yeah, it's unfiltered. It's unedited. I mean, they edit their videos, but you know what I'm saying? It's not, they're cutting out specific things. It's like, this is what's happening. You guys need to know about it. Now, there are some bias creators out there, so you got to make sure you do your research and find the ones that just shoot the shit and give. I am a little biased. I will share the news, but I'll be like, this is fucking stupid. Trump's doing this, but I'm still sharing what Trump's doing.
Yes.
But it's absolutely a game changer. And for me, I went from TikTok influencer to candidate. And so I already have this platform online that I just kind of shifted into my campaign socials as well. Now I did make like campaign specific, like Instagram and stuff like that, but I didn't make a separate TikTok. I was like, I've already built a loyal base here. People that trust what I have to say. This is where I'm going to share my campaign stuff. And so it just kind of built from there. With moving forward, at a lot of these candidate trainings, I actually spoke up about social media because in some of them they said social media should be like maybe 2 to 5% of your outreach.
Wow, 2 to 5%.
What? That's how we connect with people.
And I literally stood up. I was like, with all due respect, I'm completely new to this. I don't know the data and all of this, but as somebody that's on social media, I feel like that number is really, really harsh. Because they put most of their stock into mailers and knocking on doors. Like, that's the voter connection.
Yeah.
And as somebody that went out and door knocked all summer and all throughout until election day, I would say out of every 100 doors, maybe 10 people answered.
Wow. I think maybe candidate kind of no experience in that, but maybe their outreach is for the boomers and not thinking about the younger generation.
Yes,
we're always on our phones.
Exactly.
All the time.
And that's where we have to meet people where they are, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a lot of the older voters on TikTok. A lot of them, they barely know how to get on Google. So like they don't have a lot of TikTok knowledge, and that's okay, right? We don't expect them to. So like those are the ones that, yeah, I'll probably reach them easier if I go in the mail on their door. Because more than likely they're retired, they're at home during the day, so I can catch them. Or more than likely, if I send them a mailer, they're going to check their mail and actually read it, not just throw it in the trash as soon as they see it's not anything important. Because you have people like me that check the mail like once every 4 days.
100%. It's facts and stuff when we go check it.
Yeah, we check it weekly. And so, but then you have ones like us and Gen Z, where they're not going to open the door if somebody knocks. If somebody knocks, we're hiding.
Yeah, turn off the lights.
Yeah,
close
like,
the blinds. No.
Nobody lives here. And we're barely checking the mail. We're sure as hell not looking at every email we're getting.
No.
And so just scrolling through TikTok and seeing something pop up that's like, hey, Tennessee resident. We're like, oh, I'm a Tennessee resident. I'm going to listen now. Something that just grabs your attention. And again, short form video, a quick 1 minute, even 30 seconds of like, hey, I'm running for office. These are some issues. Whatever, your video has to say. In and out. I mean, they can follow you after that. They can like it. They can engage with it. And then they can share it to other people. And so, yeah, I just reached, Billy Joe right here who watched my video, but then he shared it and 20 of his friends just saw it too. And then they shared it and then 20 more of their friends saw it. And so like your reach is a lot broader.
It is.
So, I could spend 5 hours on a Saturday knocking doors and talking to, again, max 10 people, or I can post a video online and reach 1.3 million.
Yeah.
Which, but again, not all 1.3 million are in my district, right?
But it's bringing some awareness out there.
But that's where having media knowledge comes in handy, like tagging your location, specific hashtags. Like you want to try and like geo kind of pinpoint where you want it to go. So a lot of my campaign videos, I would tag like Clarksville, Tennessee. And I would spell out like Tennessee, or I would do TN, and then I would do like Fort Campbell military. Like I would specifically put these hashtags to generate my video towards a certain area. Because on TikTok, you can't do paid political ads. You can't promote political ads on TikTok.
Interesting.
But you can on Meta.
Yeah.
And so we did pay to promote in my area and specifically targeted my district, so that helped. But TikTok is just, you have to know kind of how to pinpoint it. So having knowledge about social media is really beneficial. And I do think, especially in 2025 and moving forward, 2 to 5% is not the outreach. And eventually it may just come down to door knocking is a kind of thing of the past, and social media is how we reach people, whether it be on an app, whether it be commercials, whether it be TV, ads and stuff like that. That's how you're going to reach the majority of people.
Absolutely.
The future for me on social media.
We met on a appearance.
We have a guest.
I know. Apologies.
I don't really have like a conniving plan.
Yeah.
I'm not scheming or anything. I think I'm just going to continue to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to keep people as aware as possible of what's going on federally and locally. And just kind of remaining in my authentic self. And, hopefully my platform continues to build and I can create more of a loyal base. So that way, when I do post things, people can rely on me for like truth and fact and not just, oh, she's just saying how she feels, which I do sometimes.
It's okay.
And but I still try to make sure that I fact check things before I make videos. If there is something that I make a video and somebody's like, hey, I don't know if that's actually correct, I'll like message them and be like, hey, do you have like conflicting evidence? Like, I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing. So there are times that I've had to take posts down because I found evidence that I didn't find before that conflicted with what I said. And I was like, I'm not going to keep that up because that's false.
Yeah. And that also shows your integrity too.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't want to be, ever want to be, you know, a fear monger, you know, propaganda spreader, whatever they want to call me. So I try my best to make sure I have all the facts I need before I post. But also with like the current administration, so much breaking news comes out so fast. Like you have to find it in a second because then the next thing's coming up and people are like, hey, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, it happened 2 seconds ago. I haven't even
hold on
typed the last caption yet for the other thing that happened 2 seconds ago. But yeah, no, I'm still going to be on social media, still going to post and share and engage as much as I can, and I'm not going anywhere. That's for sure.
Yay.
Radical Allie is still here.
Radical Allie.
Spreading.
She's spreading.
Spreading.
All right. Bird flu.
Oh, goodness. And that's the person. Okay, let me. Transitioning out of social media.
Okay.
So, as balancing political life isn't enough, let's talk about something even more personal.
Okay.
You are a mother and soon to be mom of 2. And as a mom, a wife, you have a lot on your plate. How do you juggle family life with never-ending demands of politics and advocacy? And also, do you feel the pressure to prove you can do it all?
Oh, Cooper.
Cooper says,
do you feel the pressure?
Yeah. Yes, we do. You know, I don't know if I've said this publicly, but I know I've talked about this with my campaign manager. I do absolutely feel like there's an immense amount of pressure for me to be this beacon of hope for people, especially after the election. You know, I didn't win my race, but I got very close to winning. And so people every single day since have been like, are you going to run again? Are you going to run again? We really want you to run again. And there was one woman who I ran into at Dave and Buster's in Clarksville. We recently got Dave and Buster's, so we're cool.
Okay, step up in the world.
But we were there like, I think it was the 3rd day they were open. My husband, daughter, and I, we were there so she could play some games. And this woman kind of walked past me and then she stopped and then she walked back and she was like, are you Allie? Are you Allie Phillips? I was like, yeah, I am. And she was like, oh my gosh, like I live in your district. I voted for you. And she was like, her roommate was there. She was like, oh my God, I talk about you to my roommate all the time. And so she found her roommate. She's like, this is Allie. This is who I talk about. And then she had her, I think she was 14 or 15-year-old daughter. And she was like, this is Allie Phillips. And her daughter was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool to meet you. And she asked me questions about the abortion ban and stuff like that. And at the end of this conversation, the woman told me, this was in late December, so it was like close to Christmas time. So well over a month after the election. And she told me that she still has my sign in her yard.
That's what's sad.
Because how did she say it? She said, I still have your sign in my yard because it is the last like reminder of hope that I have. And I remember calling my campaign manager, or I texted her. I just remember contacting her after that. And I was like, this is why I did what I did. Because I gave people hope.
Yep.
But since then, it's been a lot of like pressure on if you're going to run again. Like we need people like you. We need you in our state house. And it's a lot to put on one person. Because I don't want this to come off rude or anything, but I tried.
Yeah.
I mean,
I tried. And I didn't get elected, and that's not my fault. That's the voters' fault. And that's not their fault. They went out and voted, but it's their neighbor's fault because they didn't. And so for me, I'm like, everybody's like, oh, we really need you. And I'm like, okay, but I tried. And you guys clearly didn't need me enough to show up and vote. But I also understand, like, there is voter suppression. It is really hard to get out and vote, especially in our rural districts. And I try to be a little lenient on that kind of stuff, but it just gets frustrating because everybody's like, we really want you to do it again. I'm like, but you have no idea how much I put myself and my family through last year, and begged people to come knock doors with me and couldn't get anybody to come out. Begged people to, I can't tell you how many times I called somebody and I had to ask for a donation and I would get yelled at and hung up on.
Ooh.
Like the amount of times I cried during call time and had to call my manager. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing it anymore.
And then your manager would just kind of like talk you off that ledge a little bit, or
so my manager prioritized my mental health over the campaign.
Absolutely.
as it should.
Yeah. And she was like, be done.
Yeah.
She's like, go play with your kid, go take a nap, go do something else.
Yeah.
And so, but she also knew how important it was that I continue to try and call people. She's like, if you can get back on it later today, we need to call at least like X amount of people today. If not, we'll try tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so there was times where I just needed to take a breather and I'd be like, all right, fine, I'll call more people. But there were some days where it wrecked me mentally. To go to some of these doors, to make some of these phone calls, to see people at some of these events. And it's like, you put yourself out there as a candidate. Like, your life is no longer private.
And not only yours, but your kid's life.
But your kid, your husband, everybody that's associated with you, they're fair game.
Yeah.
And that's politics. That's what the Republican Party said when they sent out mailers with my 7-year-old daughter.
I remember that on the news.
Yeah.
How distasteful is that?
And that was their response when they were asked about it. Like, why would you send images of a 7-year-old on mailers? And they were like, it's just politics. And they literally,
you're fucking bastards. Is what you are.
They literally said, if I can't handle it, then I shouldn't be running for office.
I'm sorry. The laws that we have in this country that we have to protect kids, and then you're just going to, here you go, here's my...
To like 20,000.
Belittle my child.
Without no one's permission.
Yep.
And they probably said this was on social media.
They did, They said,
it's already public.
Yeah.
But could you not sue?
Because it was posted on a public. Do you know what the mailer was?
Let's see. I don't remember if I said.
Okay, so the mailer was images. So we were at Clarksville Pride, the first Clarksville Pride that I think we've had in like a decade.
Yeah.
Very family friendly event, and there was a drag show that was happening. Family friendly drag show, because I've been to some not
100%.
younger than 18 drag shows. I will say there is a difference.
Oh yeah, there is.
This was a family friendly drag show. One of the performers was dressed as Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Coming out singing Taylor Swift songs.
Okay.
Me and my daughter are big Swifties, right? And so my daughter was, she was 6, 7 at the time.
All she saw was someone
somebody that looked like Taylor Swift, and she heard Taylor Swift music, right? She saw somebody dressed up, which she likes to do, wearing makeup, which she likes to do, dancing around, which she likes to do. And so I took a video of my daughter dancing around with this drag performer and then a couple other ones. And my daughter, she's autistic. And one of the things that she really likes to do is be very loving and caring. And so she took some of my business cards, because I had a table, I was a vendor at the event. She took a couple of my business cards and she wrote, "I love you" on them. And she handed them to the performers. Because
you would have had my vote right there.
I didn't have a bunch of dollar bills.
Yeah.
So she was handing them my business cards that said, "I love you." And one of the performers, her name is Salem Lestrange. She's actually in Clarksville. I saw her, it was shortly after the election, I think, at another event. And she pulled out the card from her little bra area. And she was like, "I just want you to know, I bring this with me to every show now." And I was like, that is so sweet. But that's the impact my daughter made, right? Yeah. She made them feel loved and special.
And she will never forget that moment that your little.
And that was what the caption said. They literally said that I captured a core memory from my daughter.
Yeah.
And they took that. They took screenshots of that video off my TikTok and put it on a mailer. They took 4 of the screenshots and said that I was indoctrinating my kid, putting her around pedophiles, all this other stuff. Pretty much just painting me as a bad mom. And they sent it out to 20,000 people.
But yet y'all are wanting to convict or have a president who has 33 convictions.
Because that doesn't apply to them. That's what they think.
Yeah.
They took something that's fear of drag queens.
Yeah.
And they wanted to manipulate the situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the interesting thing is they sent it to a lot of independent voters.
Yep.
And so I started getting messages from independent voters that were like, hey, I got a mailer about you. Mind you, I wasn't on the mailer at all except my name.
Yeah.
There's no picture of me on that mailer.
It was just Allie for Tennessee, probably is what was on.
Yeah, it was just like Allie Phillips. I'm sure I have a picture of it on my phone, but it had my name on it, and then it went into this whole thing about how I'm a terrible person and I'm a bad mom. But it just had pictures. The only pictures were of my daughter, and so they reached out to me and they were like, hey, I wasn't paying attention to the local politics. I didn't know you were running, but I just got this really disgusting piece of mail that has pictures of your daughter. And I just wanted to let you know, I'm going to vote for you now. I didn't know who you were before, but I do now. And I'm going to vote for you.
Fuck yeah.
Because we love drag queens in this house.
Yeah, we do. And we love little girls.
Yes, exactly.
What was your initial feeling when you heard that happened?
I was driving home from an event in Nashville. I don't remember the event, but I was driving home. And I got a text message from Justin Canoe with the Tennessee mailer. Somebody sent him a picture of the mailer.
Wow.
And he sent it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 5 seconds after I opened that text message, my campaign manager was calling me.
Wow.
And she said, has anybody contacted you about a mailer? And I was like, I just glanced at something Canoe sent me. That looks like pictures of my daughter.
That's so fucking weird.
And she immediately started crying. She was like, I am so fucking sorry.
Yes, because what happened to the old days of you don't mess with children?
Well, and that's the other thing is the Republican Party was all, when Barron Trump was getting shit on.
Yeah.
They were like, we don't go after kids. You don't go after kids.
Mm-hmm.
And what the fuck did you just do to my child?
And they just went after,
You went after my child will be that, and that's, granted, she's young, but still, that is something that...
She didn't sign up for this.
She did. Did she come back? No, I wouldn't say haunt her by any means, but like...
No, but no, you're right, though. And that's something I said, because I made a public statement about it. It wasn't a video or anything. It was just a written statement, which my team originally advised against. They were like, don't bring attention to it. Just ignore it. Let it roll off your back. I'm like, no, this involves my fucking kid.
Absolutely.
I'm not letting it roll off my back. So I had to put my foot down to my team, who have been running campaigns for many years. And they were like, this could hurt you. And I'm like, I don't give a shit.
I can just see you, Alex. That's what you ain't going to do.
Yeah.
You ain't going to come after my daughter.
Come after
well, and all that does. And this isn't anything against my team because they were able to advise me.
100%.
But this is like personal too.
Exactly. I was like, it'd be one thing if they just mentioned that she was at Pride, but they plastered photos of her on the sweater.
Right.
And I was like,
Shetty.
Say whatever you want about me, but don't come after my fucking kid.
Don't come after my daughter.
And so that, but that was one of the things I had mentioned was like, regardless if I win or lose this election, I live in this community. My daughter goes to school in this community, and you just sent out a mailer with her face on it.
Anyone.
Yeah, and so like, so some of the kids in her class, her parents got this mailer, and they could very much well not like how I, stand politically. Yeah. She could get bullied at school because of it. Yeah. And there was actually a teacher, the gym teacher, I think she goes by Miss A or something like that, who didn't specifically say anything about the mailer to her, but Allie has a hard time sometimes with other students when it comes to like keeping her hands to herself. We're really trying to work on like personal space with her. She doesn't understand that she can't just like hold everybody. And so there was a thing where she kept touching another student. They kept telling her to stop. And so she kept touching him again. And she got in trouble in gym. And the gym teacher went to her frustrated and said, your behavior is exactly why your mom's going to lose her election.
Oh, the despicable. What?
And
is this gym teacher still currently there?
Still currently there.
What's her name?
Because
I'm gonna tag her in this video, little Miss Nasty Ass. Oh, that makes anything with a kid. If you.
So why is he bringing?
Well, and so she's the one that called me to tell me about the incident. She was like, "Hey, I just want to let you know what happened in gym class today. I got really frustrated, and I'm really sorry. It was just the heat of the moment." And I said, the heat of the moment, like that was
out and say what you said.
Oh, so she owned up to it and told you what she said.
Well, yeah, because she she knew Allie was going to come home and tell me.
And she was
yeah. And I was like, I can understand getting frustrated in the heat of the moment, but it happens to us all the time.
Yes.
But where did the politics come out of?
Thank you.
That wasn't in a heat of the moment kind of response.
That was something that she was feeling.
Like at the heat of the moment, it's like you're pissing me off. I'm about to like whoop your ass. Like, you know what I mean?
Like, girl, I'm about to snatch you.
100%.
Clearly have some feelings about my campaign.
But don't be talking about my mama and stuff like that.
Kid. And so I had contacted the principal, and the principal did an investigation and said that they had a very long discussion and that she did get written up for it. So, excuse me, she did get in trouble for it. She still has her job, but that came after the mailers. And so for me, I was like, this is part of the backlash. And so that was really hard to navigate through, and I had to show.
Yeah, did you have to talk to your daughter?
Yeah.
Did she?
When she got home from school that day, I sat her down and I told her, I tried to like prepare her. I'm like, honey, mommy's running for office. We're getting close to the election time. People get really mean around this time because my opponent wants voters to not vote for me, right? So they will say and do anything to be like, she's a horrible person, don't vote for her, and here's why. There's a mailer that went out today, and it's not so much about me as my policies and a candidate, but me as a mom. And it has pictures of you. And I told her, I was like, it's pictures of you from when we were at Clarksville's Pride, when you were dancing with the drag queens. And so I handed her the mailer. My husband was sitting there too. And I handed her the mailer and she looked at it. And she was like, that was the Taylor Swift one. And I was like, yeah, that was the Taylor Swift one. And then she looked on the other side and she was like, I remember her. And I was like, yep. I was like, do you have any questions? And she was like, they're stupid.
Period.
And then she went about her day. And I was like,
wow.
Man, if you weren't affected by this, then all right.
Right. I was just like, okay, well, I was more nervous than she was.
Right.
I was like, I felt like she was going to get upset and be like, why are they doing this? But she was just like, Republicans are stupid. And
I love your daughter.
Well, the other thing is the next day she went to school. And me and her teacher, we message back and forth a lot because Allie does have some issues at school sometimes. And she asked her teacher that very next day, are you a Republican? And her teacher asked why. She was like, why do you want to know? And she was like, because Republicans are really mean. And so her teacher was like, I can understand, because her teacher got the mailer. She's like, I can understand why you would say that. She was like, I just think everybody should be treated fairly and stuff like that. And so she's trying to like kind of get out of the conversation with Adelaide. But that was the first thing Adelaide asked her teacher the next day was, are you a Republican?
Because in her mind, Republicans are mean.
Yeah.
And
they set that to her. Like they set that they set that perception of themselves for her. I didn't have to tell her.
And you will never have to again, because now the shit that she's seeing, and it's crazy because she was what, 6, 7, you're saying?
Yeah, so this was so she was 7. Yeah, so she turns 8 in June.
Kids are smart. They fucking remember everything. They know things. They're curious little creatures, so they love to ask questions.
Yeah.
She's getting her own assumption on what the world is. It's ugly.
Well, and she sees like the news. She sees what I see on TikTok. Now I try to not let her watch everything, but she understands Donald Trump is a terrible person. There's a video that's actually on my TikTok of her talking about him being inaugurated on MLK Day. And she was like, Trump, why would you do that? Pick a different day or just don't be president at all.
Don't be president at all.
And so, but during this time, they're learning about MLK Jr. in school. And so I asked her, I was like, why would it be a bad day for Trump to become president? And she said, because MLK fought for the rights of the people. And I said, and what does Trump do?
Yeah.
And she said, he fights for rights for himself. And I said, you're smarter than half this country.
Right. No, and they sent that message.
Can we have her on next year?
Say last year.
At least it'll be less stressful, I guess, as a kid. I don't know.
But she's so involved now. And, people, and of course there's comments that are like, oh, she's 7, you made her say that. I'm like, no, I didn't.
Yeah, she has a mind of her own.
Yeah, but also, like, her mom just ran for office, so she's familiar, a lot more in tuned with the political sphere than a lot of people are. And so, like, a lot of things I had to explain to her, like, how politics works, how government works, because she kept asking. She was like, you're running against Trump, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not running against Trump. No. I was like, that's Kamala Harris. I was like, Kamala Harris is running against Trump. And she's like, but you're the Democrat. I was like, yes, I'm the Democrat in my race. I'm running for state. And so I had to explain to her all these things because they don't teach government. But
they don't. And that's what these dumb people are dumb. No, they don't. Some adults don't even know the judicial system. They dumb as hell. They don't know anything.
Like J.D. Vance is like, oh, judges shouldn't be able to tell the president no. I'm like, that's why we have 3 branches of government.
Exactly. That's why we got
we don't have a king.
Because people like you come into office and think that
these motherfuckers don't know.
I love when people tell Trump no, though. It's so
it's satisfying.
It is. Oh my gosh, yes. But you are teaching your daughter stuff that people are failing to realize now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm setting her up to be a very, hopefully, intelligent and independently thought person. So she doesn't have to rely on media. So she can do her own research. So she has
independent.
2 brain cells to
use your frontal lobe.
God, you were an incredible mother. You were great.
I'm trying.
You're doing a lot better than a lot of other ones.
I told my husband that this one was going to be a feminist.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like, I'm going to raise my son. He's going to be a feminist. It's like, whatever.
Do it.
As long as he likes cars and video games, too.
Cars, video games, likes people, takes care of people. Yeah, exactly. Okay. We're going to switch we're not going to switch. Let's kind of go on in this political realm. As you can see, 4 questions now. We're deep into politics. Let's talk about the powerful stance you had and you've taken on reproductive rights. This is, I think, just one, listening to you, seeing you and everything, but this is one that I really like hammer on the nail for you because it was the Roe versus Wade and everything like that. Like, it's just blasphemy how we're going back 75 years.
And people don't understand how reproductive rights affects everyone. The little thing. And they just think abortion.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, that's because that's how the media has portrayed it for them.
Yes.
1,000%. And like we were saying earlier, that abortion word, it's almost like a cuss word, kind of. And it shouldn't be a cuss word. That is if I want to get an abortion, I have the right to get an abortion.
It's just a care procedure.
It is
It's no different than saying, oh, I'm going to go get a colonoscopy today.
Right?
It's just a procedure.
It's a procedure.
It is. And no one should give a damn if you're doing abortion or not. No one gives a damn if you're going for a colonoscopy.
Right.
Or open heart surgery.
But we've gotten to the point that we have women like myself that have to come out publicly and share these really personal health journeys to bring awareness.
Because people don't
because they don't want to do their own research. They just believe whatever they're told. And 2, there's just so much disinformation about abortion. Like, oh, it's ripping babies apart, it's crushing their skulls.
You didn't want the baby anyway.
Yeah, you was just hoeing around. Like, take responsibility. And now every pregnancy, every abortion, every journey is different. Like, every single one is unique. For me specifically, I got pregnant by my husband because we wanted a baby. Yeah. It was planned for and wanted. I didn't hoe around. I didn't get back. I wasn't behind a dumpster having fun. This was planned for and wanted.
Not during your campaign. You weren't behind the dumpster.
Did have time.
She said, I gotta go knock on doors and do other things.
So when you start having this conversation with pro-lifers, like, this was a planned for and wanted pregnancy, they're like, what? And you killed it? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, so let me explain. You can have planned for and wanted pregnancies go south really quickly. Yeah. And that's what happened with mine. I was halfway through my pregnancy. I was 20 weeks pregnant and found out that she wasn't going to be compatible, that everything that could have been wrong was wrong. And my doctor told me staying pregnant was going to put my health and life potentially at risk.
Yeah.
I have a daughter already here. I could not risk leaving my daughter without her mother for a fetus that wasn't going to survive anyway.
As a fetus.
I got to get this out. I'd rather get this out
than understand what a fetus is.
Well, because they look at life begins at conception, which is also incorrect. That's disinformation.
It is.
Because you're not even pregnant at conception.
Nope.
It still has to implant
Bitch, the
itself.
sperm's still swimming up in there.
It could pass in your next period.
It sure
Or it could implant in your fallopian tube, and that's an ectopic pregnancy that will kill you if you don't remove it, which is an abortion.
Yes.
And so for my story, I have to educate a lot of people because I tell them, like, she was gonna die, she wasn't gonna make it, so I chose to get an abortion. And there's a lot of like, oh, you could have gave her a chance, you could have got another opinion, and I'm like, I didn't have time.
No, but
my clock was ticking.
Yeah.
Nor do I care. Do I have second opinions when I go to a dentist or when I go?
Well, but I had two opinions.
Yeah.
Well,
from my anatomy scan and then the high risk doctor.
Yes.
They were both confirmed that this shit isn't good.
So get it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I have to explain to them. And then the second thing is I tell them when I got to the clinic, I found out she was already gone and I was at risk of going septic.
And and
then they were like, well,
inside of me.
And well, they were like, well, so then that wasn't an abortion because she was already dead.
It's all right. It's all right.
Girl, this is getting me heated today a little bit. With the things you come into my house and tell me.
For the last
and you have to
years,
explain that
I've been saying this. Yes.
So what do you think's going to happen if this person, this it's inside of me that's already deceased?
Dead.
What do you leave a bread in the oven when it's cooked? Like
no, but we take it out because it'll overcook and get me. Wow.
In their minds, that's what they believe to be true. If the fetus is already dead, it's not an abortion. So I asked them, I'm like, so how did I get her out then? And they're like, well, they had to remove her, right? And I'm like, and what is an abortion? They're like, oh, well, that's killing babies. I'm like, no, it's not. The abortion, by definition, is the deliberate termination of a pregnancy. Termination does not mean kill.
Yep.
You get terminated from your job, do they kill you?
Yeah, right? Hello?
No, they remove you from the position. So the word deliberate meaning that it's not your body naturally doing it, right? So when you have miscarriages, they're medically coded as spontaneous abortions.
Yeah.
Because your body is spontaneously just getting rid of it on its own.
Yes.
So when you have doctors or medications intervening, there's different kinds of abortions, like D&Cs and D&Es. That's the other thing. They're like, you had a D&E, not an abortion. I'm like, a D&E is literally a later term abortion. That is the definition of it.
I can only imagine having these conversations with these people, and it's like you have to.
It's the point just smacks it in the face.
Yes.
Do you realize when you explain this to people, do you see a shift in their belief, or are they still very against?
Do you see the light bulb come on?
Yeah. Yes.
No, because majority of them are online, so it's like comments back and forth.
Got it.
But for the ones in person, it's just like their brains like malfunctioning. They're like, no, like
a robot. Like
they're shutting down. But like, with all due respect, though, I try to have, as much as I hate it, I try to have a little bit of like compassion and understanding because they've been told wrong for so long, and a lot of it has to do with religion.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with like maybe generational kind of knowledge, like their parents growing up are like, oh, abortion's terrible, they rip babies apart, this is what this is, and blah blah blah. And so they were conditioned to believe this, and they've never been offered another point of view in a way that's like conversational to where they can be open-minded. It's always like protest and screaming at each other, like, you're killing babies, like, no, I'm not, like, you're killing women. And it's just like it's all hostile discussions. So that's why, and I don't know if I said this earlier, but like, that's why sitting down and having one-on-one conversations can really help people understand, because when you talk to them like a human being, they're more willing to kind of hold what you're saying and actually take it into account and actually think about it. I used to do TikTok lives a lot before I ran for office, and I would host abortion debates, and I would bring people on my live and ask them why they're pro-life. And they would tell me this, and then I would tell them why I'm pro-choice, and I would start giving them factual information. Some of them, it was just kind of shutting down, like, whatever, you're just going to kill babies no matter what I say. And I'm like, okay, well, you're clearly not open-minded. I'm not going to waste my time.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
My goal when I was doing those wasn't to make people pro-choice. It was to offer them the facts that are actually there, the facts, the science, the medicine, and let them do their own research afterwards. And there was my opponent, actually, I met with him before I decided to run. And in our conversation, he had said something along the lines of, like, you're trying to make me pro-choice. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to bring a reality to you that you probably haven't thought about.
But it's funny. Sorry to interject real quick because I gotta. What is the percentage or the thing of? I'm sure it's mainly men, but men being so against abortion and stuff. Like what? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like
if it's the percentage between women and men.
Yeah, like what is that bad? Like, is it more men that have problems?
Yes.
That you're encountering with.
The majority of people that are pro-life are men. In this country and in our state, and the majority of people that I talk to are men.
Wow.
Bitch, what? You don't have ovaries. You don't have nothing. You speak up. How?
Well, but they feel so entitled, though.
They do.
Why?
They don't even know what it's.
Why? I want to know why.
Nothing.
Well, and so some of them, it's rough because I would ask them, like, are you married? Do you have a girlfriend or whatever? Nope. Well, and some of them do. And so I would try to, like, humanize it. Like, okay, so put your girlfriend in my shoes.
Mm-hmm.
If you found out that your girlfriend was pregnant, you guys planned for and wanted this pregnancy, and it was putting her life at risk halfway through, what would you do?
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, well, I wouldn't let her kill the baby.
So you will kill her?
And I was like, she would die.
She would die.
She would die.
What did he say?
Well, there's always just like if that actually happened, blah, blah, blah. And
it does happen.
I'm surprised they even married, honestly.
It's just, for a lot of these people, it's going to take it actually happening to them.
For them to realize it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a really unfortunate thing because I wouldn't wish what I went through on anyone.
No.
And then nobody. I don't care how far right you are, how much I don't agree with your politics or whatever. Like, I would never wish what I went through on anyone. But at the end of the day, maybe that's what they need to wake up. And I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing with a lot of Trump voters right now, is they're being affected by these policies.
Yeah.
That's how it didn't vote.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that gets me about pro-life. They think pro-life is just the baby is born.
Right.
But they don't want to follow that baby into adulthood. So y'all don't want to vote for kids to have lunches at school. Mm-hmm. You don't want to vote for pre-K, free pre-K. You don't want to vote for kids to have menstruational pads, whatever, in bathrooms. You don't want to have proper education on sex, but you want to be pro-life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to vote against, like, welfare or any assistance.
No, universal health care. They want to get rid of Head Start.
What is this?
They want to... we had a shortage on baby food for a while, or formula, excuse me. And so, I mean, if you go to the grocery store, I don't know how it is down here, but in Clarksville, it's locked up. Mm-hmm. Because, moms are stealing formula because they can't afford it because it's so fucking expensive.
Yes.
But yet we're pushing everybody to have babies.
And if you can't breastfeed, formula is your only other option until they're at least 6 months old.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the only option. Mm-hmm. And if, you're not fortunate enough to be able to qualify for WIC or other assistant programs, like, if you can't afford those $50 cans, and those $50 cans last, like, maybe a week.
Yeah.
And that's probably a cheaper version because there's probably more expensive versions.
There's different brands.
Which is just insane.
But then they said, they can be foster care if you don't want the kid. You have to have foster parents. You have to go training for that. Yeah.
But we already have too many kids in our foster system.
Too many kids in foster care.
So many that they're sleeping on the floors in our offices.
Mm-hmm. God,
but
Allie, you've seen.
Well, it's because I did my research.
Yeah.
And so I don't just like sit here and talk out of my ass.
Well, 100%. But it's like.
But they don't.
They don't. Yeah.
Does that give you a drive? I know you said like maybe you haven't gotten that far of like if you're going to rerun or anything, but is that light something underneath you for that?
I think it's what kind of keeps me going. I think the thing that keeps me up at night and wanting to stay involved and remain active as much as I possibly can is because there's so much education that needs to be done. And I feel like I have like this personal responsibility because I took on the face of abortion in Tennessee last year. And I don't want to give up on people because, again, there are some people out there that are really open to hearing a different side. You just have to get to them. And then there are others that there's nothing you say that's going to change their mind. And you find those. But, if I'm able to change one person's mind by just offering the experience that I had, the facts that I know, with resources, and it changes their mind and shifts them to be, again, not to be pro-choice, but to be more understanding, then I've done what I needed to do, right? And then I can't tell you how many people messaged me during my campaign that like, I grew up really pro-life. I never thought about stories like yours. I never thought about situations like yours. I'm really rethinking my stance because I saw your story.
Wow.
And I've had people even just recently that comment on my post, and they're like, I told one of my colleagues about you that's super pro-life, and your story just completely changed her mind.
That's fucking
like
awesome.
We're still talking about it. This happened to me 2 years ago.
Allie, that's awesome.
But I mean, that's what makes me proud. I'm like,
yeah,
what I'm doing isn't for nothing.
Yeah.
Did I want to win my election? Yes. Every candidate wants to win.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But my goal wasn't to become a politician. My goal was to make change. My goal was to help people. And if helping them understand the actual knowledge and facts about abortion can hopefully shift us in the future, then I'm doing that. Obviously, I wanted to be at the Capitol so I could propose legislation that would help more directly. But at the end of the day, we have a supermajority. I wasn't going to get shit passed in that house.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't even let me speak on the House floor.
They looked at you and be like, sit down, girl. No, I'm a state representative.
But that's the reality, though.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been down there, but what could I have actually gotten done if I did win?
Yeah, when you have a majority. Yep, that's right. I think we've touched on so many hard nuggets. But Allie, in closing, I want you to go no whole bars. Squabble up if you need to.
Squabble up.
With one unfiltered.
That's gonna be a social club right there.
Right after the TikTok.
Yes. With one unfiltered, no hard bar call to action, what would it be? And what's the message that people absolutely need to hear right now to keep moving forward?
Phillips, man.
I'm about to get inspirational.
Yes.
Come on, let my hands come on. Give me chills.
So, okay, I'll pivot more on the what do people absolutely need to hear right now. I'm going to look directly at your audience when I say this. It's not over. It's far from over. I know you feel defeated. I know you feel frustrated. Like, what the hell is going on in our country? What the hell is going on in our state? I get it. I'm feeling it right with you. But it's not over. We still have the one thing that they can't take away from us, and that's our voice. And until they can take that away, we have to use it.
Absolutely.
Speaking up, sharing stories, showing up to protest, calling your representatives, being in every space that they're making decisions is going to make a difference. Applying pressure. I know you guys have probably seen these Republican town halls going on, and they are getting grilled and ripped apart by their constituents. The very people that voted them in are pissed. And we're seeing that across our country. So there is a shift happening right now. If you want to be a part of that shift, you've got to make sure that you are speaking up and staying involved and not regressing and kind of hiding in your hole as much as we all want to. It's very depressing. Take breaks, please, from social media if you need to, because it's rough. But also engaging as much as you can, sharing posts that you see, talking to your friends and neighbors. That's the best way we're going to make change in our nation, in our states, in our local communities. And also, midterms are next year.
Yeah.
So if you've ever thought about running for office, now's the time to think about it. Now's the time to get signed up. Now's the time to start talking to people and building a team. But also, now's the time to just not give up as easy as it is. Because women didn't used to have the right to vote. Women didn't used to have the right to own a home or open a bank account. And we didn't get that from women sitting on their ass at home crying about what's going on. We got that because women stood up and fought. Same with like civil rights movements. MLK didn't get shit done because he sat at home. He got up and he marched and he made a difference. We can do that. You can be that next leader.
Girl, you done gave me chills. I told you to give it to me, you did.
No whole bars, unfiltered. There you go.
Get your ass up.
Also, you need to run before there's no elections left to run for.
See.
Amen.
This little children's playhouse up in there in the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a playhouse right now. You just described that perfectly.
It's a daycare.
It is a daycare what we're running. And then the little girl, I forget her name. She's white, blonde hair. She's
the press secretary?
That girl. She needs to go on and kick rocks.
Who's the DEI hire?
Yeah. The DEI. Girl, I didn't know that.
DEI hire. She got no experience.
Yeah.
No masters. Nothing.
But she's also just a white, like country bumpkin looking bitch. Like she
don't know she a DEI hire, but she a DEI hire.
Yeah, I'm like, you're a woman. You're a DEI hire.
Got it. So she's here to save the world.
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah, she's doing the best she can. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, whatever your name is.
With that being said, Allie, thank you for joining us for tea. You spilled some gems on here. I think we lost track of time.
That's okay.
Lost track of time, y'all. Enjoy. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Allie, again, thank you so much. You are welcome anytime.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Until then, follow her on social media. We'll drop all of her links below, tagging her and everything. So go on and follow her.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.